called Make You Feel My Love. Jamie with you on BBC Radio Wales. 25 to 11, the Falklands War veteran Simon Weston here after 11 this morning, chatting about his books for children. First, I wonder if your children, or grandchildren come to that, are potentially brilliant medal-winning athletes. Jo Coombs is Head of Performance and Excellence at Welsh Gymnastics, and on the lookout for young elite athletes. She's with me now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you really spot talent at the age of, 5 you're starting to think about?
We can. Gymnastics is very much an early specialisation sport, and I think most people know it's a fundamental sport for all other sports. In terms of what children need to have to be a good gymnast is certainly something that we could look at 5. I mean, we're not looking at children that can do fantastic gymnastic skills. It's more about basic fundamental movements that they can actually do and naturally do. So there'll be certain things that we'd look at, and we have been known to spot, talent at 5, and that's where we really need to start looking.
We used to laugh at the Russians in the Olympics, didn't we, for sort of grooming children from the earliest of ages to go and win everything in the Olympics. But I mean, you do have to start young. You do have to take elite sport seriously at this age, don't you?
Yeah, certainly do. Particularly gymnastics, I guess that's why it is quite a hard sport at a young age, because you're expecting children to commit to something quite young. But it has a huge amount of benefits right through to, sort of like their whole life, that they can use some of the skills that they've learnt in gymnastics to carry on. And we've got numerous elite gymnasts that, have gone on to really good things and been able to use their skills that they have in terms of performing and using that in their life skills. What
are the skills that are useful then?
Well, it's certainly sort of like all the physical skills that you've got. So if you choose to stop gymnastics and you want to go into another sport, then you can do that. And for example, we've had an elite gymnast, Sonia Lawrence, you might remember from Commonwealth, who went on to do athletics. So she transferred her skills. We've had a number that have gone on to diving. So there's a lot of transferable skills. And then there's others that have gone into the medium performing. Gabby Logan is one example of somebody who was a Welsh rhythmic gymnast, who obviously has gone in to use her skills of performing on television and radio as well. So
we've been reporting extensively, obviously, on the Rugby World Cup. Yesterday we were featuring the story of a motorbiker from Mid Wales, who's our newest world champion in world motorbiking. How are we doing in terms of Welsh gymnastics on the world stage? And I wonder what the potential is for future potential as well.
Well, we are progressing quite nicely. We've still got a long way to go. We need to remember that. We do have a couple of hopefuls for 2012, which is good. And then obviously our next tier down is quite important that we start to look at developing those, because it's not just about 2012 or even 2014, which is not far away either. It's then beyond that. So this is why this project for us is really quite important, is to start looking at the legacy of what 2012 will give us, and then 2014. So we look at what we've got for 2016 and so on and so forth. So it's quite important that we continue to look at talent and what is out there.
And everybody is fixated by the Olympics in 2012, but as you say, this is a long-term project, isn't it?
It certainly is. It's been known that it will probably take about 10 years for a gymnast to actually reach an elite standard. So this is why you have to look at, 5, 7-year-olds. So it's going to take 10 years to get to somebody who's a senior producing gymnast. So we've got to look down that far to actually, and it's a long road, but it's a profitable one.
And is your voice heard? I mean, in Wales, it's often said by people in other sports, other disciplines, they often say it's very difficult to get your voice heard above the rugby and the football.
Yes, it certainly is. I mean, it would be nice for gymnastics to have a bigger profile, for people to understand what the benefits are of gymnastics. So out in the media, out in sort of like the public view. We need to do more of that. We need to sell our sport, because it is a beautiful sport, and it has so much to offer.
And what about the scene in schools? How's schools gymnastics in Wales?
It has got better with the project that Sport Wales looked at, the PE in School Sport project. Gymnastics was one of the major activities they looked at developing in terms of developing teachers' training And I think that's the other important aspect. It's not just about looking at the children, it's about those that are delivering gymnastics. So part of this project is to support the coaches in terms of education for the coaches. And that was really important to us, is that they will be the legacy. The thing about gymnastics is children can't do gymnastics without a coach. So,
and it isn't just about school either. What about the club scene outside school?
The club scene, we've got a lot of improvements to do in more. We want more clubs, we want more people taking part in gymnastics. The more people in gymnastics, the more likely you are to spot potential talent. So we will want to work with the clubs to, widen their network, if you like, and widen the number of people that, can do gymnastics. Because we know there's quite a lot of people that want to do it and actually can't get into clubs because they may be full, but we need to look at how they can expand and how they can develop.
Well, we've been chatting about Welsh Gymnastics, on the lookout for tomorrow's talent, and asking whether your children or grandchildren are potential medal winners. Jo Coombs is here, the Head of Performance and Excellence at Welsh Gymnastics. You've been running this pilot scheme that's running in the south of Wales, which you hope perhaps to roll out across the whole country. Tell us a bit more about that.
Basically, it's a project to look at the process that you can go through in terms of not only identifying talent, but also developing it, because at the end of the day, it is a process. And we want to, sort of look at the pitfalls, what works well, what doesn't work well, and help our clubs, because at the end of the day, our clubs are the deliverers of gymnastics. They're the ones that will be developing this talent. So we're looking at helping the clubs to look at possibly going to schools, work with schools for a period of time, so helping that link, bringing them into the club environment and looking at what's important in the club environment and what programmes that you need to put in place to ensure that if you do identify some talent, it has the right development and nurturing that will enable them to get to the end result.
And how does that work? So you will attach yourself to more senior teams, regional teams, and there are people in the wider network keeping an eye out for you?
Yes, I mean, ideally what we would like is, I guess you could call them a talent scout, if you like, that will support the clubs. So we're starting quite small, which is why we're at the moment just piloting it in the south of Wales. But it will be, somebody is also required to support the clubs to ensure that, they feel like they're getting the help that they need to make sure that they're delivering the programme. So we do want to roll it out. How we will roll it out, we're not certain exactly how that's going to happen, but it's certainly something that, we need to look at doing.
And you're on the lookout for boys as well as girls?
Yes, we've focused, ideally, because gymnastics has 8 different disciplines in it. We're starting with the 3 Commonwealth disciplines, so that's women's artistic, men's artistic and rhythmic gymnastics.
Explain those.
Women's artistic is the one that you see the most on the television, so that's the beam, bars, floor and vault. And we've obviously got an Olympic hopeful medalist in Beth Tweddle, who everybody will, I guess, will know that discipline. Men's, they will probably almost be aware, and we do have a previous Olympic medalist of Louis Smith, who won at Beijing, or got a bronze medal at Beijing, and that's the 6 pieces, floor vault, high bar, P-bar, pommel, rings, and I've probably missed one. And then rhythmic gymnastics is the one with the hand apparatus that we are still progressing in terms of the world. We're not up there yet, but we certainly have an Olympic hopeful in 2012 with rhythmic gymnastics, and that's the very elegant female part of the gymnastics.
And I suppose it all gives children enormous confidence, doesn't it? It gives them the opportunity to handle performance, dealing with an audience and pressure, which is probably a good thing.
Certainly does. They get that experience right through their life in gymnastics, and it also teaches them great discipline and great commitment, because that's what's required to improve in gymnastics. And those are things that you can take on and use later on in life. So the performing part is, some enjoy it, some don't. So that maybe is another natural thing that you'll be looking at, particularly for the women's side of the sport. Those that love dancing to music, have that real performance quality, is something you might be looking at naturally. And it's not just about the gymnastic skills.
So for anyone listening who thinks that perhaps their children or grandchildren might be interested in this and is worth encouraging, how do you find out more?
Well, I would say in the first instance is to contact Welsh Gymnastics. You can find us, our contact details on the website, welshgymnastics.org, or go to your local club. Again, you can find details of that on the website and all the clubs that are in your surrounding areas.
Jo, we wish you every success and hope you find a whole new load of Welsh world champions for us in coming years.
Yeah, I think we'll be back to tell you if we do.
Let's look forward to it. Jo Coombs, Head of Performance and Excellence at Welsh Gymnastics.